Hey everyone, I'm Kim coming to you from Studio C at Microsoft. Pretty neat to be here with Larry Hryb. You may know him better as Major Nelson from Xbox Live, the Director of Programming for Xbox. Larry, great to be here.
Thank you.
Tell me a little bit
Thank you
about
for coming.
how you got to this spot.
Wow.
From those hallowed halls of Newhouse.
Yeah, so
here.
I graduated Newhouse in 1989 with a degree in television, radio, and film production. And I moved back to Connecticut where I was from, and where I am from, and I started working for Clear Channel. And I worked for them for about 10 or 15 years, and I stopped doing it when radio stopped being fun. And actually Microsoft came knocking on the door and said, hey, we're working on this music project, would you come join us? And I'm a geek at heart. I was the guy who was basically fixing everyone's computers, at Dell Plane and down at Brewster Bowman.
All right,
so
we knew some of those dorks in school.
Exactly, yeah. I'm that guy. So when they came knocking on my door in 2000, I said okay, and I moved out to Microsoft in Seattle, and 10 years ago, and the rest is kind of history. I bounced around inside of Microsoft and came over to the Xbox team, and I said, you know what? I think gaming's going to be big. I think I bet right.
You looked into that little magic 8-ball and you might have seen something cool.
For once in my life, I was right.
You have what many would consider a dream job.
Yeah.
I mean, for the gamers out there,
Absolutely.
for the non-gamers out there. I mean, I look at you on Twitter with 200,000 plus followers, and it's amazing the following that you've created.
Yeah.
How do you do that? What's the personality? What did you need to get this?
A lot of it is obviously what I learned at Newhouse, all the different classes.
Yeah.
Also what I learned in radio when I was working for Clear Channel. Because when I was working for Clear Channel, Twitter, you brought up Twitter, and that
didn't exist when you were working for Clear
No,
Channel.
clearly wasn't. but what we did in radio was a lot like what I do on Twitter, about having that conversation, broadcasting out.
Yeah.
Sometimes you hear back, in those days you hear back for somebody picking up the phone and dialing the station.
Right.
Nowadays people just reply. So I basically took a lot of what I learned in terms of my broadcasting background and brought it into Twitter, brought it into Inside Xbox, which is a weekly show or show that we have on Xbox, and then of course brought my talents of being able to engage with the community and take their feedback and bring them back here to the product team.
So social media has really helped that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it must have made it
absolutely
real-time feedback.
I was doing social media with Xbox before it had a name. When blogs kicked off in 2003, I'm like, maybe the blogging thing is kind of cool. When Twitter kicked off, I was like one of the first people on Twitter, and all of a sudden I was just doing it. I didn't do it like, oh, this is going to be big. I just did it because I needed to be in the place that the gamers were having a conversation, and that happened to be Twitter, it happened to be Facebook, it happened to be they needed a blog to talk to me. So I was just using the tools to talk to them because this audience consumes their information in a vastly different way than anyone else.
When you sat in Newhouse, did you ever see yourself with these big old Halo guys standing
Halo Reach guys, huh?
Yeah. It's a little intimidating to be standing in front of this crowd.
Yeah. Weapons are down, so we're cool. Weapons are...
I mean, students get married to their major. Your major really didn't have much to do. I mean, the communication side, yes.
I'll tell you what it did do. I never thought I would end up at Microsoft.
Right.
I mean, that's just a bizarre, when you graduate Newhouse, you end up at Microsoft. What? I mean, I work with people here at Microsoft who are some of the smartest in the world that graduated from Syracuse, the Computer Information Sciences, MIT, University of Texas, the list goes on and on. I mean, Berkeley, I mean, every school you could possibly imagine has great computer schools. I've worked with them. And I realized, it's kind of weird sitting in a meeting and realize that you're not the smartest guy in the room. It's kind of humbling. But what I bring to the table is a certain sanity and rational look at what we're doing, how we're developing the product, whether it's Xbox Live, the Xbox 360, Connect. And I take my experience of how to tell a story. And that's what I learned at Newhouse. Because the most important thing about developing a product, whether it's a game or even Connect, is what's the story arc look like? How are we going to tell the story of this is what we want the consumers to see or the users to see? So we always, I call on things I learned at Newhouse every single day here, years later.
Listening, guys? Yeah. That's awesome. So what would you say to the student who might be watching this, who thinks, how do I ever get there? I could never get to where Larry is. What did it take to get here?
It was a lot of, I'll be the first to admit it was a lot of luck, but it was also a lot of hard work. I mean, when I first went to work for Clear Channel, it was an unpaid internship. Which is the most important thing nowadays, is you have to go, and I'm not saying you have to do it whether you're in broadcast or whatever, you got to go get the internship and understand what that part of the business is about. You need to do that. So that's really critical. And then beyond that, it's every, how do I say this? Everything you do will give you an ounce of experience that you'll build on and build on and build on and build on. So even though when you're doing something right then and there, it's like, how could this possibly have
internship?
Right, how could this possibly have anything to do with what I want to do with my life? Well, you're not going to be an Aaron Sorkin right out of Newhouse. You're just not.
Right.
You know, you have to learn how to do these specific things and kind of hone your craft, whatever that is, and just do something that will do things that will eventually build this beautiful foundation that you can then build this career on.
Thank you so much to Larry Hryb, to our lovely, beautiful backdrop behind us.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.